All right. Ah. So I'll take a deep breath together and bring our welcoming hearts to the center of the circle this morning for our Good of the Whole Monday Global Heart Resonance Call. And for those of you who can't see or who are just joining us, I'm Shelley Darling, and here just holding the field with June Steiner here this morning for our Good of the Whole Global Resonance Call. And this morning, I'm just going to start out with a quote that I discovered last night by our beautiful, beloved Julie Krull. And I really think it describes Good of the Whole and why we come to this oasis of love here. So inviting everyone just to soften their bodies and open to receive. And then I'll go right into heart resonance centering. Good of the whole is an idiom. Inviting everyone just to put yourselves on mute if that's okay. Thank you. Start again. Good of the whole is an idiom. The meaning of this phrase is so much more than good or whole. Good of the whole is the foundational principle for the living in a healthy, interconnected, independent life in unity and harmony. It is a prescription for ultimate quintessential health and oneness. It is an ideology, creed, ethos, doctrine, and belief that can guide us individually and collectively back to our innate genius. It is a worldview and a vibrational frequency that returns us home. Both ancient spiritual traditions and modern leading-edge science point to the unified nature of reality. So living for the good of the whole brings us back into right relationship with all things. Just take a breath with that. And the invitation here this morning is just to close your eyes as we deepen into the emergent field that's moving everything into greater wholeness and unity. And we just breathe down into Pachamama, the earth energy, this terrestrial force that nurtures and feeds us. And we just breathe that up into the sacred chamber of the heart this morning. Just breathing in as well this celestial energy, this beautiful connection to the vast star nation, to this information field, the noosphere, and to this galactic consciousness that nurtures us and informs us. Just breathing that energy of light down into our physicality and into the center of our heart, and feel those energies connecting within the sacred chamber, this place of divine essence, communion, and creation. Really see this energy expand out to this circle and out beyond into our communities and out into the world, through the waters. Just breathing that energy out, releasing it out into the waters. In gratitude and love and reverence here this morning. So continuing with that vibrational frequency, this home frequency, this morning we come together with the focus of entheogenic evolution here this morning. And is it a call to awakening? Just breathing into that. And June Steiner I'll pass the talking feather with just a reminder here this morning to speak 1 to 2 minutes. Really keeping our shares concise and really tracking the energy as it weaves us into this globally coherent space, this practice of love, really practicing, coming into this practice and honoring the pause in between. So for those of you that are new, we welcome you and invite you to come here and play here this morning. And with that, I'm just going to pass this beautiful talking feather here this morning to June Steiner, our beloved Resonance Council.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here, and it's really exciting to talk about this particular subject because it's very, it's taken the wrong way many times because we've made drugs and things from other countries and from our own countries as something wrong because they haven't been used well. But I just like to bring forward the use of entheogens to bring us deeper and deeper into consciousness. And now they're finding out how much good they're doing for health and well-being of all kinds. What's his name? Martin Ball has written so much on this subject, and he talks about how entheogens can be used for healing. In the early 70s, I was really privileged to be able to use many of these entheogens with patients because they were allowed at that time, and you could help people go deep inside and look at themselves from a place of non-judgment so that they could actually change the way they were feeling and what was going on for them. And then as they were put out into the world in the wrong way and people began to use them for other reasons, they were shut down. And of course they were shut down for psychologists and psychiatrists as well. But over the years, a wonderful organization called MAPS, Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, brought clinical trials all over the world, trying to convince the United States to take all of the research that they had from when it was legal to use these drugs. And finally, here in the United States, they're beginning to open up the use. But MAPS has done a wonderful thing for all of us, and that is it brings once a year to Oakland, California, it brings people from every culture from all over the world who are doing research and work with these drugs and showing how miraculous they actually are in handling things. Ball talks about the 3 different ways in which these drugs can be used, and one is the scientific and medical, and in that particular field, just the use of LSD, of psilocybin, and those drugs for addiction and for depression and things of that nature, post-traumatic stress. Tribes from all over the world are doing their own research as well as we doing it here in the United States. And then there's the shamanic type, and that's the spiritual for healing body, mind, and spirit all at the same time, which many of these drugs are very, very good for. And then there's what we're talking about today mostly, and that's the non-dual or mystical, the entheogens that are used to go deep inside to help us find that layer beyond ego, to where we really touch into that pure consciousness of us. And that's the place where I think that we can do so much wonderful research and guidance with helping not only each individual, but with the consciousness of the world, of the cosmos, to find that place of peace and love and resonance inside of all of us. And it's not something that's used on a regular basis. A methanogen is used in a very, very sacred way to take you deep inside and to do it either with yourself and a sitter or yourself and a shaman, or at the most one or two people. It's not something to be shared as a social kind of thing. And it's something that, as I say, it takes you deep inside. And those kinds of ethnogens generally bring up a healer, a guide, someone that talks directly to you. And it begins a journey of finding your way home beyond what we know here in the here and now. And then it's only used in a sacred way, maybe once a year, once several years, to help you move along that path. So I just thought it would be a wonderful discussion to see what people think or feel or experienced about taking themselves into those sacred spaces. And I have just found that for myself, both in using them with others, which unfortunately I can't do at this point in time yet, but with my own journey, my own inner journey, that is one of the deepest, most profound experiences that I've had. So I'm just excited that we get to talk about this subject today, and I'm complete. I pass the sacred feather on.
I'm going to pick up the stick. It's very interesting that you've brought up this topic, as I'm actually reading a book about it at the moment. Because I have a close friend whose son has been working with it in, I think, Peru, I'm not quite sure, somewhere in South America. And she was very worried and concerned about it. So I sort of drawn to understanding a bit more about it as well, because I've tried this and they seem to have some amazing experiences. The interesting thing about reading this book is it's not for everyone, but it does seem the most fascinating thing about it is apparently people who have depressions and addictions and things like that have seem to be recovering at a completely different, more profound level than anything else. And I saw a beautiful film on Gaia about it as well, which I can recommend that you see if you're interested in knowing a bit more about it. I'll put back the stick, and I'm looking forward to hearing what's going to be said.
I'm going to grab the talking feather. So, as this topic arose, I was very aware of my resistance and my beliefs. Not so much my judgments. It wasn't really, I don't know if it was so much judgments, but it was about the experience of the field and where that energy, how that energy moves us, and the magic and the alchemy. And so in my experience, I've seen a lot of people go into these experiences with good intention, and yet they continue to use it daily and weekly and to find that experience that internally, and I'm just speaking for myself, that is available, that in my experience, it's like, do we not think that this pathway to our own highest consciousness. And the joy that comes from that, you know, is right here. And so it was a really interesting opening to this, bringing this forward here this morning. And so from that place, I feel like, you know, just really calling to the field, the voice of the field, to open, and even myself, open my being to the trust that as things come forward to each person, you know, and like what's being said, you know, this bringing forth of this conscious use of these medicines, because they are medicines to support our coming home. And so I'm open and excited as well to just breathe open and be able to share this topic in a way that really supports the sense of freedom. Because I feel like in my experience, I went to those drugs when I was younger, and I had amazing experiences to help open this awareness that now I feel like, wow, it's right here. It's so close, you know. In fact, the breath and with the support of a community like this, it opens a field for that experience and that intonation of this highest frequency, an interdimensional frequency as well. So I'm complete and passing this talking feather.
Good morning, everyone. This is Cassandra. I pick up the talking feather. I'm grateful for this opportunity to be in right relationship with each and every one of you on this particular subject. And I say right relationship because what we're discussing is from the natural world. And we're talking about our relationship to the natural world and to the spiritual elements and the vibrational, for me, more importantly, the vibrational elements. I'm a student of sacred science. It is my understanding, as I have shifted throughout my own personal growth and journeying, that I now see the world in energetic terms. So when I look at a plant that is a psychedelic, for instance, I'm seeking to understand it from a mental but also emotional and physical response. Like you said, Shelley, when something is presented to us, we have reactions. We're curious, or maybe we've had an experience that has shifted us in some fundamental way, whatever it may have been for each and every one of us. As we evolve as a group of in humanity, I believe that our fear will be lessening and lessening. Our judgment will also be going the correct way, which is to be given away. And so I would like to leave this conversation with that thought, that there are many ways that each and every one of us will come to that sacredness within. I love indigenous ceremony. It speaks to the cells of my body. I'm not as inclined to use the natural medications simply because my vibrational frequency is already at a level that I'm not sure that I would be comfortable surrendering to something that I've never done before. And I haven't taken ayahuasca or any of those, but my brother recently had a shamanic journey that literally shifted him into we-ness consciousness. And I see the powerful change within him. So I want to speak to the positive and that which is the unknown and leave that on the table for discussion. And I'm very grateful that this subject was brought up this morning. Thank you.
This is June again, and I really appreciate the concerns that we all have, myself included, in using a medicine. And I want to, again, like Karen, to call it a medicine, because in the cultures that these plants come from, the interaction is as if we are with a teacher, a healer, a guide. And when we take and have these kinds of experiences, we then, our job is to come back into this world and through our work, our hard work and our loving work, bring ourselves closer and closer to the experience that we had on the medicine. It isn't to keep taking the medicine to keep us in that state. That's not the purpose at all. It's we can take it again at different times to reinforce and to grow to the next level. But it's the work we do when we're off the drug that makes her off the medicine and makes the absolute difference. And it's the way we take it as well. You know, if you take a plant medicine, you don't eat meat, you don't eat anything that's foreign to the plant for quite some time beforehand. And gently will hold you. There's throw up and purge and all those things, which, you know, happens to a lot of people because they're not shown how to prepare. And as Karen said, it's the sacredness of this whole journey that makes the difference. So if we attend to the sacredness of the plant and it attends to the sacredness of our journey, it's very different than depending on the plant to create the journey for us. We need to create the journey. So I'm complete.
And this is Oriana. And I would like to follow June. Hello, Nahid. My first encounter with ayahuasca was, I'd been studying with a shaman, and after about the fourth trip to Peru, I was in the Amazon jungle and under this enormous banyan tree, and the shaman of the Amazon and the shaman I was studying with were both creating this ceremony with the ayahuasca. And the shaman are there to safeguard your journey. The medicine is so sacred that it has to be prepared under these very ritualistic ceremony, and they ask the spirit of the ayahuasca, they consider her a spirit, the mother spirit, and ask her to come forth with any and all guiding messages. And so under that enormous banyan tree, there came a moment of opening, and I was moving towards this higher frequency that was drawing me and knowing. And suddenly it was as if I was sideswiped by some other energy that was taking me some other place. And I had no idea, but suddenly Don Eduardo across the gathering jumped up and he said, Oriana, Oriana. And I opened my eyes and he said, do you see me? I said, see, El Gato, the cat. He turned into his power animal, the jaguar, and he hurled that big cat across. There's about 20 of us in the gathering. And it just boom, and I was back in my body, grounded with all 4 feet. And then just was pulled out of my body with these nature spirits, moving through the trees and the undergrowth, and just the freedom of that. Oh, it's never left me. What the shaman do is create the crack between the worlds. And the exploration of that is of your own accord. And one to be taken in quite sacredly. And from that journey, that I remember, it was an all-night ceremony, listening to the drums and the jungle sounds and things moving, and you weren't sure if you were hallucinating or there was really snakes in this jungle. And so what it was that I returned with was the sense of the rhythm. And I was told that in this exploration of the other realm, that the ancients had called the other realm the non-material realm, and that they traveled always in pairs, the universes, the non-material realm and the physical world. And that the rhythm is what holds the key to the time code. And the rhythm is what flows into the physical world so that it informs the field. And the field is informed by the present. So what I knew and was told that the planet had been seeded 1.5 billion years ago by a higher civilization, and that the encoding was within the rhythm. As I followed it literally around the world to different sacred sites all over the world, I'd stay overnight and just sit with the stones and say, teach me, what do you know? And on top of the Great Pyramid all night, inside of the King's Chamber in the sarcophagus all night, teach me, what do you know? And this rhythm I began to know as a communication, like a Morse code. The rhythm itself is encoded. And I'm really just learning to feel it, and feel it so deeply that it translates what I call transparts, the knowledge and wisdom that doesn't need interpretation through the verbal knowing. It is actually within the rhythm itself that resonates so deeply, it awakens your own knowing wisdom within that is encoded within all of us. 1.5 billion years ago, the one-celled organisms of bacteria came into cooperation with our one-celled nucleus karyote that became the first cells, the mitochondria, 1.5 billion years ago. Where did all the evolution come from to create a mitochondria? And what was all the evolution before the bacteria formed from 3.8 billion years ago is the Archaea, the oldest life form on this world. And those forms came into being through the rhythm of the universal life form that is our highest destiny unfurling as it is encoded within us to be the universe come alive. It's encoded and it's held and communicated in the living water. It's the interface of the physical world with the non-material realm is in the living water. And I am complete.
Hello, all. This is Katie in South Dakota. I'll pick up the talking feather here briefly. I don't have such profound experiences with the shaman or anything, but I had the opportunity one time. We did these mushrooms in the hills of Black Hills, and just me and Mark and Mira, and the moment had so many levels. It was just to feel into the moment so deeply, it's just profound, and it's just kind of my head.
It is hard indeed to bring it into the words. It is most powerful than what can be spoken of. It's like it feels like being in a cradle. Is that rhythm? Being gently held. And being the cradle itself at the same time. The tenderness of the moment. Leaves you with the wonder and the wow. nothing else is coming out. What I wanted to bring up is just what was spoken, that I come from plant medicine background, and I had a judgment about the plants, taking it for exploration of the inner world. But when I did intentionally to get to know it, it was that aspect of me, that inner guide that June you mentioned, that it was beyond my access in the physical realm. And it was just trusting my intention to be the facilitator of the journey and give my hand to be taken for where I need to go. Sensing when something is offered, it is an invitation of the field that I have a choice to either say yes or resist it. It's always my choice. And in becoming one with that is the sacredness of the inner, that, as you mentioned, we bring to the outer reality, to the physical. And it's like everything else, it's just the pointing to that which we are, nothing else. So, wow. Thank you, nature, Mother Gaia. Thank you for this invitation. Thank you. I am complete.
Imagine being able to feel the field that learns from our experiences. Like feeding back to the future. All that we've learned, all the ways in which we have moved and felt and been guided through. And now imagine there's a deeper knowing. Oh, the heart feels. The heart feels the rhythm. From the moment of conception, the heart feels the rhythm unfurling and unfolding. Oh, as one cell creates 2, creates 4, creates 8. The rhythm of the heart is the rhythm of the non-material world interfacing with the physical world. How does the non-material world learn from the physical world? What is this experience of life informing the higher realms as the higher realm is informing us? What is the alignment with the rhythm? Oh, encoded within the time code. Within the mitochondria. Imagine being able to feel with your mitochondria. You have 1 trillion cells, but you have 100 trillion, quadrillion mitochondria. Oh, and they're floating in living water. Oh. What if our whole orientation was to emerge in the field so that we feel the world as it is who we are? Evolution. Evolution is encoded within us. It is who we have unfurled to be and continue to unfurl to the higher order that we feel calling us forth. And feel it even more like a small child, not knowing language, but with this great urge to stretch towards the sky and take that one more step. Come on, you can do it.
Oriana, I'm just going to come in a little bit so that we can just continue allowing other people to
I will
share.
be happy to do that. Please allow me to bring this field into you.
Okay.
And feel it as this is a gift. This is a gift, this field that you feel inside as you feel that little child reaching for the sky. Take that one more step and really immerse into the field itself and feel. Feel with your heart as it is unfurling and unfolding. And I am complete.
Good morning. This is Dinama. The invitation from Gaia, the field, our heart rhythms, the life force, is to see without borders. Unity consciousness, holistic consciousness, oneness, living oneness. It's all an energetic. And each heart knows that frequency. Some of us call it the home frequency. And it is from that place we're invited to create, each one on our own journey of exploration, trust, and love. I'm complete.
Hello again. I'd like to speak just very briefly to the energetics of journeying, flying, shamanic practices, healing, all of those wonderful experiences that we can attain through whatever our journey brings us into contact with. I haven't done drugs to learn. I've taken the path one step in front of me and have always experienced life vibrationally and journeyed as such. So I would just like to add that to the mix, that yes, the medicines are facilitators. Yes, it's important, if you haven't journeyed before, to have someone with you that can assist you in the process, because it's a surrender, it's a giving up of who you think you are and conceive yourself to be in order to be able to, the word bilocate is coming into mind, but that doesn't even describe it. So I just wanted to bring it back to, there are many ways to experience this sacred union, mentally, emotionally, physically. We find ourselves in the oneness. And I just wanted to anchor that as well. So thank you for allowing me to do that. And I put the feather.
Good morning, this is Julie, and I would love to follow that as this search for experiencing the ineffable, the desire to merge into sacred union. And I just want to add to that many paths thread that literally we are at this precipice where nature can take us there. Technologies are being developed to take us there. Who would imagine sacred technologies of using computerized technology to create the experience of the ineffable? But it's there. And art, the arts, all of nature. There's so many paths. I was in Phoenix at an art museum a couple of years ago, and there was a constellation called Fireflies. And all you knew was there's this dark tunnel that you were going to go into. And I walked in, and it took my breath away. It was pitch black, and your eyes had to get oriented to what was going on. And the artist masterfully took mirrors and hanging twinkling lights. And you walked through this art constellation toward the end. And in that moment, I had one of those ineffable experiences of our oneness. And what happened was so fun, because there were children trying to go through it, bouncing on the walls, little bumps and bruises, people talking and giggling. This whole thing was happening as people were trying to maneuver through this art exhibit. It was beautiful. So I just want to honor the all paths. There are so many. And I'll just close by sharing another. Just 2 weeks ago, I had surgery on my eyes, and the anesthesiologist told me that he would put me to sleep and I might wake up, I might see lights and sounds, and if I do, he'll put me back under. And when they rolled me into the operating room, I was having a conversation with the surgeon and the anesthesiologist and the nurses in the room about the evolution of consciousness on our planet and what was happening. And this very topic, as they said, why do you think people are so into this alternative reality and these drugs and this medicine and what's happening on the planet? So as I'm having this conversation, I was awake during the surgery and they left me awake. And I was having this conversation and the anesthesiologist said, I can solve all the world's problems. All I have to do is give them a little dose of this bliss med. And we all chuckled. And then they said, what do you think people are looking for? What is this that people are looking for? And the voice from anesthesia and grogginess and this place of oneness with everything, I was one with everybody in the waiting room, spoke to this oneness with God in our search for that ineffable moment. And so it was a beautiful time. I really enjoyed having surgery awake. It was something I never would have asked for, and I couldn't imagine it. And it was so fun. I'm talking about the breakdowns to the breakthroughs on the planet to this ineffable moment. So with that, I'm complete.
So now this is the time in our call. We want to open the call to people who haven't shared, and don't forget to take yourself off mute. And as we experience the bliss of this journey here this morning.
Hi, I wrote a book about 5 years ago, and in the chapters devoted to journeys through plant medicines and addictions and such, I too believed that when we become altered, we are seeking, consciously or subconsciously, a reconnect with that which we call or know of as God. And so to hear you say that, Julie, was just, it touched my heart deeply. Thank you.
Good morning. Wow. My path has not been through the plant medicine. I've always been curious and at times wanted to give that a try. And every time I was stopped and told no, it was not what I was to do. I just went on an amazing journey through all of this discussion with water. But water is amazing. I was being shown reasons why I don't do sweat lodges, reasons why I was not doing plant medicine, from past lives, childhood, all kinds of things flooding through. I couldn't stop my body from movement. I'm still having trouble coming back right now. I'm keeping my eyes open. And yes, as people told me, there's many, many ways to reach that place of oneness bliss. And once you have, it is a place that it's like, do I have to come back? But I think we're here to learn how to be, to live in that place all the time, to feel that place all the time. That that's how we're actually meant to be all the time. In that place, we can do anything and so much. And I like the idea of, yes, that explains when some of us are doing healing energy work. That's the place. That's why I thank people for the opportunity, because that's the place it often takes me to. So thank you for today's call. I'm still curious. There's still a little part of me that wants to be able to try some of these medicinal things, but so far my guidance has been, no, it's not your way. So maybe one day I'll experience it. And I thank you all for this wonderful place you brought me to this morning, and I love you all. Thank you.
Well, I guess I will jump in. This is Deborah. I appreciate this journey this morning. I was out walking in a little layer of fresh snow, and actually I can't continue talking because I've got really bad feedback. So anyway, that's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you, everybody. Let's just take a pause to continue being in that frequency, that rhythm that's been expressed through each and every one of us this morning. With the deepest gratitude to Gaia through June, bringing this forward. Ooh, that deep and quiet space of movement. So as we spiral into our day and into this week, we carry this energy forward, and we can take ourselves off mute. And for those of you who are looking to step more deeply into a greater coherence and love and wholeness, we have our Wednesday, first Wednesday call coming up this week. It's a public call. Feel free to spread it out and come and experience this in its practical form, and of how this love wants to move outwards. So thank you, everyone, and can end in our joyful yum.
Love you all.